Maisy Kay, welcome to the show.
I'm doing good. How are you? Thanks for having me.
Of course, Live 365, iHeartRadio, Mad Max Radio. Maisy Kay joins me here for sports and hip hop with DJ Mad Max. And we got Wonderlust, the Dusk EP, available on all platforms now. How are you feeling about it? Because I know you had this split into two, because you had the Dawn as well. So how are you feeling about this side of your EP that just released?
Yeah, good. I always knew it was going to be a two-part project. I'd originally considered doing an album, but I didn't feel ready to make that leap quite then. So a double EP felt like the best thing, especially since one was like a dawn and one was like a nighttime sister, like a twilight. So it always made more sense to do it like that. And it was really cool. It was cool performing the songs on tour before they were released, as they were being released, and seeing fans learn them before they'd been released, and just the support keep growing as the EP dropped. It was a really cool experience getting to be on tour while that was happening.
That's fire. And just with the moods of the two EPs, was it more of when you wanted to do the Dusk one, it was more to when you were feeling in a darker mood and the Dusk was more uplifting? Was it more based on the moods when you were recording?
So actually, I wrote all of the songs at around about the same time. And it was when I was trying to sort through them and decide how to cut back on them that I realized there were some that very clearly had a darker feel to them. And, and that's when I realized, oh, we can split it because some of these songs are a lot dreamier and a lot lighter and make sense on like a daytime project. But there's also like a lot of like moody, intense, like chemistry, that goes to a darker place. So it wasn't an intentional choice. I'd just written all the songs, and it was when I sat down to try and figure out how to sort through them that I had the idea to split it into two like that.
What's been the fan favorite off this new EP that you've noticed, especially when performing?
Well, people always really like The End of Love is a God because I do some operatic stuff, and I feel like if the crowd was not into it for whatever reason before that moment in the set, they normally get into it because they're like, oh, she can sing. So that's always really fun seeing their reactions to that because they don't see it coming, and it is very high and very dramatic, and it's cool getting to be dramatic and watch the audience's responses to that.
Yeah, that one's my favorite. And Sorry, those are the ones that stood out to me the most. I like those two records. Those are my two favorites off the EP.
Well, thank you. Yeah,
Yeah.
those are good ones.
Yeah, big opera person with loving the musical, a Phantom of the Opera. That was a huge inspiration for you when you were younger. So, when was the first time that you caught wind of that play?
My parents took me to see it when I was around, I think the first time I must have been 7 or 8. And it blew my mind even then when I was so young and I didn't understand the emotional nuance of the storyline. Just the music and the feel of it gave me chills and blew me away. And I knew it was so special even at that young age. And I've seen that musical so many times since. And the opening when the chandelier rises gives me chills every single time, even all these years later. So it's always been such a huge part of my life. And I originally thought I'd do musical theatre instead of singer-songwriter life. And then it wasn't until I started pursuing that a bit more seriously that I realized I enjoyed the storytelling aspect of songwriting a bit more. But yeah, I love musical theatre. I'd love to do something in it one day again. One day, if it's the right fit, I would love that. But for right now, yeah, just focusing on the pop stuff.
Yeah, and you're excelling at that. And because what was interesting, I found out when doing my research about you is that you saw the sequel to the Phantom of the Opera. I didn't even know there was a sequel. So, what was this sequel? What did this sequel entail?
Yeah, so it's called Love Never Dies, and it's essentially Raoul and Christine stay together, but their relationship is rocky. He's a drunk gambler, and the Phantom essentially reappears into her life, and she has a son now, by the way. And it just sort of, yeah, it got mixed reviews. I know it wasn't for a lot of people. I think the actual title song, Love Never Dies, and Till I Hear You Sing are beautiful. Till I Hear You Sing is one of the most beautiful songs, and Ramin sings it, and he's so brilliant. So I don't know, I find it very touching, but I understand that it's not for everyone.
Yeah, I definitely I want to check it out, especially now that you've described it to me. Because being a fan of that play and just the movies over the years, definitely it's piqued my interest to go check that out for sure.
Yeah, I would recommend it. I would. I think they're not playing it anymore, but there's places you could probably watch it online. At the very least, it's worth seeing Ramin's version of Till I Hear You Sing. There's a version on YouTube and it makes me cry. It's so brilliant. So at the very least, I would say listen to his version of Till I Hear You Sing because it's spectacular.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to check this out. I mean, you've been doing this for a while now, just since a young age, self-trained pianist, and really just going out there and always knowing that you were gonna be a singer. But you had glimpses in your family, because I think your mother was in the choir as a young age, so you had the musical background. It's someone on your father. I think the grandfather on your father's side was into music as well.
Oh, good memory. Yeah, so my mom was in a school choir, not seriously. She was never a crazy good singer, but she did do that. But my dad's dad, as you said, he played piano and he could listen to a piece of music and figure it out and what key it was in without having to look at the sheet music. And that's how I learned to play. I couldn't really read sheet music either, but I could hear it and then figure out how to play it back. If you just gave me a minute, I could like figure it out just by hearing. So I definitely got that from him. And I never met that man. He died long before I was even in the picture. So it's very cool how lineage can affect you like that, even if you never met the family member. Some things just stay. It's really interesting.
It definitely is. And with you, because you wrote your first song at 10 and it became a musical, and this is what kind of got you the notoriety with the paper. So, how much further did you really take this? Because I know the school kind of let you put it on as more of like a play and an actual performance. Have you ever had any plans of creating your own new musical at all and wanting to delve into that lane?
Yeah, actually, I have two. I have multiple musicals that I am working on right now. I don't know if they're any good, but I am secretly work. They are my passion projects. I have songs. I have not good scripts, but eventually, maybe one day they'll be good, and I'll try and do something with them. But it's definitely something on my mind and something I would really love to pursue one day.
Mhm. It's interesting because I mentioned before with the notoriety with the newspapers, was that kind of what piqued the interest of with the record label and you getting out to California because you had these offers, or was it more the songs that came after that too?
Yeah, so it was sort of a chain reaction almost because Sony didn't see that, but a local studio in Birmingham did, and they were impressed by the paper. And so they asked me if I wanted to come record songs at their studio. And that was the first time I would have ever actually like recorded a song in a studio. And so I enjoyed that and I did that for a while. And it was through those sessions that Sony would end up hearing a song and then they would ask me to fly over and see me and consider working together. So they didn't see the newspaper and get excited, but chain link of events, you know.
Yeah, led it for you to come out here. But you were 14 when you got out here, and then
Mhm.
you started the grind there, following the dream out in LA. And it was tough for you. I heard that with making friends and things like that. Did it eventually kind of break through to where you were able to find a supportive group around you?
I have the most supportive group of friends now. I have the most amazing group of fairy, fae, elven, witchy women, and they are brilliant. And I only found them in the last 2 years because around 2 years ago, I just exited a very abusive relationship. And I decided that I didn't like my life and I was tired of feeling so lonely and I really wanted friends. I just wanted more friends, especially women. And so I decided I made a conscious choice to go and make friends. And so I would go and put myself out there. And essentially, I like to call it forcing my friendship on people. I would find a common interest and I'd talk to them. And then I would just go, I think we should be friends. And it's worked. It has a 100% success rate because what I realized is everyone as an adult longs to make connections with people and it's harder as an adult, but it doesn't have to be if you just take down the social stigmas and you just be like, do you want to be friends? What you find is that most people actually really do. And they actually really respect that you just bullshitted over excuse my language, but you leapt over the small talk and just created a friendship. And that's how I've built so many meaningful relationships in such a short period of time because I essentially just found my people and I said, let's just be friends. Like let's skip the getting to know each other part. Let's just be friends already because I can tell we're going to be. So yeah, I have the best friends in the world now, but I didn't for most of my life here and that was very tough.
Wow. Now, how would you kind of compare the cultures of friendships and even relationships compared to the US and even in London? Because you've had both experiences. With me, I kind of stay guarded, and I think the dating scene's completely toxic. And then when you're in this space, as far as looking for friends, it's more transactional. What can they can get out of you? So it's rare to hear that you actually found supportive people. So what are kind of the two different cultures compared to you being out in London to here? Because I feel as though with the States, it's tough.
Yeah, I would agree in general that I think people in England are more honest. There are
Mm.
definitely a lot of two-faced people in LA, and there are definitely people that only want to be friends with me because they think I'm successful. And the thing is about people like that is that they're pretty easy to weed out, and it's pretty easy to know when someone's doing that. And when someone's doing that, the way I see it is that I won't have ill will towards you. I won't ignore you or cut you out of my life, but you just will never be a close friend of mine that I share trusted information with, and I won't invite you to my more intimate gatherings. Not because I feel like that's how I've sort of made my peace with it, because otherwise you drive yourself crazy thinking about how two-faced everyone is. And I have dealt with some very awful boyfriends, producers, employees, friends, just people here. And now I haven't dealt with a bad person in a very long time, and that's because I raised my standards for what I look for. And now the people that are looking to use me for that, because I have friends that aren't, it's so easy to spot who is and weed them out pretty quickly.
Yeah, you got to see through those disguises like your EP.
Yeah, I have people wear a lot of masks. They wear a lot of masks, but
Yeah, they
it
do.
can't mask it forever, So
No, you can't. We're always able to see through them as far as the real people that are out here like us. And speaking of disguises, because that was really an EP that really opened my ears to your catalog when doing my research on you, because it reminded me a lot of that Evanescence feel, to where it had a dark overtone to it.
that's so funny. I was such an Evanescence fan when I was 12 to 14 or however old I was. Evanescence was my first ever concert. When I first moved to LA, people told me I
Wow.
sounded kind of like her and we had a similar vibe. Like that was the reference I got the most when I first moved, because I was an angsty teen and I was living that angsty emo teen life, You don't understand me, mom. I was living the dream.
Yeah, definitely. Amy Lee is definitely one of the best to do it for sure, especially with
She's
that
brilliant.
whole. Yeah, you're big into the fantasy, especially with novels. An avid reader when you were young. That's rare that people talk about reading nowadays, which is crazy because that's what you really need to communicate with people, and especially with science fiction. But there was something else too, because you like the Phantom of the Opera. You have all these dark overtones, and you have the jazzy Halloween thing that you did too. So do you kind of like the horror element too? Are you into the horror genre as well?
I love horror. I
Yeah.
love horror. I'm always dragging my friends to see horror movies with me. I don't know why, because I don't get scared by them, but I just think they're so entertaining. I don't know I just love them, especially if it's like a cheesy bad one. Like Friday the 13th is one of my favorite horror movies ever. And I know it's not that good, but it's not the point. It's just so fun at the summer camp. Kevin Bacon's there. Like, what a time. I love it. I love horror. Yeah. So there's definitely moments in this upcoming album that I'm doing that showcase my love for horror. And I'm really excited for you to see what that is like and what that sounds like, because we go pretty in on it.
Oh, I love that. Especially that's so rare to see, especially from artists nowadays, especially even with Avatar, because that's something that you grew up loving, to even making the music with songs there. It's in that language and getting to work, not even just even to talk with James Cameron. I learned about that. How was that experience working with such a legendary director in the genre?
I mean, it was 10-year-old me's dream come true. I learned that language when I was 10 just because I loved it. And I paid so dearly for that. I got so heavily bullied for learning that language. And so it was so cool to ultimately that project fell through and it didn't end up getting released. And that's sad. And you know, I wish it had been released. Maybe one day it still can be, but not right now. But ultimately, regardless of the fact that it's not out in the world, I still get to tell myself that I did that. And everyone that bullied me in high school for learning that language was wrong. Like I went and I met the guy that made that project, and we went to Abbey Road and we performed with a 92-piece orchestra. I did not deserve to get bullied for learning my little alien language. It actually was exceptionally cool that I learned my little alien language. So, yeah, I think it healed 10-year-old me a little bit.
Yeah, and with bullying, I experienced it throughout my time when I was younger as well, and it's interesting because that's something that you've spoke about in a lot of things that I've read for interviews and just doing your my research on your history. Where do you think kind of bullying stems from? Because I look at it as it's insecurities within themselves. Because with you, I think it's because they're afraid to be themselves. Because you were someone that was always into nature, animals, and climbing trees, and all the stuff I learned about you from when you were younger. Do you think it's more of people that they're insecure because they see you being yourself?
Yeah, you took the words right out of my mouth. I said, I think some people get very intimidated by people living their lives authentically. And it's very easy to get so caught up in the judgment and perception of other people. And I did that too. And to be honest with you, I got broken up with so horrifically about a month ago that something just snapped in me. And I decided I no longer care what anyone else thinks of me. I'm here wearing full on like mermaid tribal makeup. And I went out to Barnes and Noble in this and I just went in there and bought a book and talked to the cashier like it was nothing and went back. And I realized I just don't care anymore. I'm just going to be the way I want to be and be extra and be dramatic and come out in public dressed like a mermaid or a fairy or a witch or a vampire or a fae or whatever I'm feeling that day, you know? And I just don't care what anyone thinks anymore. And if people want to laugh and make fun of me, then they can. But as you said, that means you're insecure because anyone that is secure in themselves would not feel the need to belittle others and make other people feel small just to make themselves feel better. So they can make fun of me if they want to. I don't care. I think I look great. So
You do, and it's expressive. That's the whole point of being an artist nowadays. And speaking about worrying about other people's opinions, when did that kind of stop for you? Because that was something early on in your career that you were going through, where you were looking towards other people for opinions on your music. When did it stop to where you were just like, you know what, I got to do this for myself? Because that's what it really came to, and that's what really creates the individuality that music is missing a lot of times in today's day and age.
yeah, I think it stopped, music stopped being fun. I was so busy trying to think of how do I get a TikTok hit. And I was hearing so much about TikTok, TikTok, TikTok. I was being told that labels wouldn't sign me, not because my music wasn't good, but because I didn't have a big enough following on TikTok. And it was so um demoralizing. And it reached a point where it just stopped being fun and I didn't know why I was doing it anymore because it wasn't working. I wasn't getting that TikTok hit. Now I'm not having fun. Now I'm just sad and way too self-critical of my own work. And I reached a point where I almost decided, oh, I've done this for a decade of my life. I gave it a good shot. It's clearly not meant to be. It would have happened by now. And it's making me sad. So I think I'm gonna quit and go home. And I don't remember what exactly changed that for me. I don't remember. I don't think there was necessarily one moment and like it switched, but I think it was with Wonderlust. I think I needed to experience Wonderlust because it allowed me to make music just for me again and write because I was just feeling in love with someone and not because I was trying to make a hit. And then because of that, songs like Technicolor Honeymoon ended up being really successful. But I wasn't trying, I was just feeling. So that's how I managed to bring it back. But there were a few years where I just truly had a loveless, joyless relationship with my own work.
Yeah. And what would you say for the audience out there, the definition of Wonderlust is? What is your definition?
Before I was describing Wonderlust as the very intense feeling to get to know everything there is to know about a person and being enthralled with the journey of getting to know a human being. Now, I would describe Wonderlust as a state of delusion,
Mm,
but not in a
strong
bad way.
statement.
But not in a bad way.
Yeah.
That it's a strong statement, and I want to clarify that that's not it's not a malicious statement. It's ultimately Wonderlust. There's a, as Taylor Swift calls it, lavender haze over your eyes. You're not seeing things for how they truly are. You're seeing things for how you want them to be. You're romanticizing you with the lavender haze. It's Wonderlust. It's a state of delusion. It's beautiful, but it's not ultimately real or accurate the way that you're picturing it in your head. So I think Wonderlust is ultimately a state of lavender haze and a state of delusion, but not in a malicious way, if that makes sense. Just in a sad but accepting way.
Yeah, no, I like how you really broke it down there, and it's important because there's a message behind your music, and that's really important to where the people could really identify, especially as an audience, and that's something that's really going to make you stand out in this industry. To where you even had people like Tori Kelly being able to tour with her. How was that? Because you were struggling at that point, you weren't getting any tour offers, and I think you were crying at this point, and then all of a sudden you got the call to go on tour with her. That was a big moment for you.
It really was. And, it inspired me to finish writing Cosmically Intertwined. That song had never been written. I had the chorus done, but I could not. I was so uninspired. I couldn't finish the song and it was stressing me out because I knew I wanted it to be a single because I loved the title Cosmically Intertwined, but I just couldn't finish the song and I wasn't feeling inspired and I wasn't feeling ultimately in love. So I couldn't finish this love song about eternal love. I just couldn't do it. So it was just sitting there and I was driving me mad. And then when I got that tour offer, I was so inspired and I sat down and I wrote the rest of Cosmically Intertwined in 20 minutes. And it became more of my experience with my career and how I was meant to do this and how I'm going on this tour now with this woman that I've had in my playlist for years, just as someone that respects her. And I get to go on tour with her now. And 2 years ago, I wasn't doing anything. And look how far I've come. And it was just a really inspiring moment. And that's what Cosmically Intertwined is ultimately about.
And that's another great song off the EP. The visuals out there as well. People need to go check that out if they haven't yet. What was the most important thing that you learned from Tori Kelly so far? The most important piece of advice that she gave you?
Oh, she's just so diligent. She has these very intense vocal warm-ups and she treats her voice like an instrument and she's very dedicated to her craft and it shows. I think she's one of the best vocalists in the world. Her vocal control and her vocal range and her runs are unbelievable. And she truly is just as good live. And she can do that over and over and over again and make it look like it's nothing. It's incredibly impressive. So I think it just taught me to be a bit more diligent and consistent with my own routines and to treat my voice a little kinder and with a bit more respect. So maybe don't always say yes to a little Mary Jane on the balcony. Maybe cut back on that a little bit for my lungs because that was something that I definitely do love to indulge in. I'm not gonna lie. And after that, I was like, okay, now I feel like a bit of an idiot when I'm here, smoking a J and Tori's doing this diligent set every night. I'm like, okay, you got to lock in. You got to lock in. So I'm going to start doing a vocal warm up every single day and using my facial steamer every single day. And I hate using my facial steamer, but seeing how what it can do to someone if they just keep doing it the way Tori keeps doing it, it's inspiring. I can never ever come close to her talent, but I do feel, and I learned on tour that the more you do something, the easier it gets to just keep doing it. And so I think at the very least I need to be warming up my instrument and doing the steamer and doing the warm-ups even if I'm not doing a show. So she really helped me there be a bit more disciplined.
Okay, yeah, and I mean you're disciplined yourself and just going to the gym, having the vocal coach and the choreographer to help you out with your movements. It really is a process to be a performer, and you've even worked with people such as Timbaland, Rodney Jenkins. So how was it working with Timbaland? He's a big hip hop producer.
Yeah, it was really nice. He was very down to earth. He was very genuinely excited about the music. He wanted to work with me because he liked my song. He listened to one of the songs and it inspired him and he thought it would be really cool to do stuff to it. And, it's very daunting to be in a room with these musical powerhouses, but everyone is just there to collaborate. Everyone wants you to love the product. Everyone wants you to speak your opinion. You don't need to be afraid to say that you don't like something. There's no ego in those rooms. It's very much a collaborative, at least I'm sure there's an ego in some writing sessions, but knock on wood, in my experience, everyone's just been very open and it's a very collaborative process, which is really lovely.
Yeah, and you're also into the acting space. I was doing some research too. The sneak over, how was that?
You know what? That's so funny because I just saw myself on a Curtis Connor just did a video on the sneakover, and my face is in it for a little bit, and I died when I saw that on screen because I shot that so many years ago now. I never thought I'd see that ever again, and I see Curtis Connor doing it. It was so funny because I was trying to just build my name from the ground up, so I was agreeing to work on these indie films and these student films and these Kickstarter projects because I knew they needed the assets. So I had to fly into Oklahoma for like a night. It was a night shoot, and I flew into Oklahoma to sit there and be this dad's girlfriend. And there were mosquitoes everywhere. There was so many bugs, and I was getting bitten to absolute death. It was a good time, and everyone on that set was lovely. The guy that plays my boyfriend, I guess, slash the dad, he was a really nice guy, very down to earth, and we had lovely chats. Wish him all the best. I hope he's also enjoying being perceived by Curtis Connor because that's quite an accomplishment. But yeah, it was just really interesting because I was like really out in the middle of nowhere in Oklahoma on a night shoot, like in a swamp, doing this like indie Kickstarter film. And then I had to fly out to go to another. That was like the second Kickstarter one. Like I had to do one in San Francisco, and then I had to go to Oklahoma and do the other one. So it was just very chaotic.
Is that something that you want to delve in further too with acting? Is that something that you're going to try to juggle here, or you mainly focus just on the music?
I think I feel too insecure about my own appearance to do on-camera acting. I think I'd just drive myself crazy nitpicking my own face. I will say I love voice acting, and that's something I really want to do. I love video games, and I voice a lot of indie video games, and I'm voicing a couple animated projects right now, and it's something I really love doing because it takes away the pressure of being perceived, and you can just have fun and act. So I think I'd like to continue pursuing voice acting, definitely. Maybe not on screen. I think I'm a bit too self-conscious at the moment.
I don't think. All right, I don't think you should be because all right, I'm gonna get roasted for this because we see what the bar is now. The sexiest man alive is Benny Blanco. Really? I mean, I'm just gonna throw that out there. You shouldn't be insecure about yourself because there's people that are getting voted into these positions that shouldn't be there, and that's just terrible. But I think that would be great for you to go out there, try it on camera when you feel comfortable, because I think the bar is it's lower, and I think you're way above that. And as far as with voiceover work, I would love to see you do something if Disney could ever get it right with Haunted Mansion. I think that would be interesting if you did something like voiceover work if they had a project for Haunted Mansion.
I love that, and that's crazy because I just went to Disneyland with my friend. I don't think I have him with me right now, but I got this magnetic haunted mansion crow, and I named him Poe after Edgar Allan Poe. And he sits on my shoulder, and he might be haunted because he like talks by himself sometimes. It's very exciting. But he's at a haunted mansion licensed crow, and I brought him to the Barnes and Noble in my mermaid outfit earlier. He was sitting on my shoulder squawking at the customers. It was very unsettling for them, I'm sure, but I had a great time. So I love that. I would love to do something with the Haunted Mansion, especially since I literally have the little crow buddy sitting on me all the time now. That's so funny.
Yeah, that would definitely be something that works for you. Yeah, I think they need to, because I saw the previous movie. I wasn't a big fan of it, but I think if they did something as far as an anime movie, just even with the cartoon,
Anime would be cool.
yeah, that would really be interesting. Because
That'd
you
be
see all
really
these other
cool.
Disney stuff, and we've never really had a traditional Haunted Mansion because it's been around for so long. We only had the live action one with Eddie Murphy, which I did
Yeah.
enjoy, but I'd rather see something more anime that's kind of traditional to the story.
Yeah, I think that'd be really cool, especially since I don't the Lord of the Rings anime movie. I just saw that a couple days ago. I forget the name of it, but it was brilliant. Like I highly recommend it. If they did something like that for more things, I think it would be sick because that sort of content's really cool. But yeah, I didn't really care for the Haunted Mansion movie, the newer one, much either. I agree. But an animated thing would be very cool.
Yeah, it definitely would be. And I mean, hey, the possibilities are there. You're working. What's the energy going into 2025 now?
Yeah, I want to reprioritize my love of animals and nature and just find myself a little bit again. I sort of lost myself a bit, and I lost a lot of self-esteem and self-respect. And so I think my priority is just gaining that back and getting my confidence back and feeling pretty again, which is why I'm dressing so extravagantly until I can feel pretty in my own skin again. I'll be a mermaid and a fairy and an elf, until I feel good about myself again. So yeah, just sort of rebuilding myself from brick by brick, I guess, from the ground up.
Yeah, no, trust me, it's gonna happen for you. And Born Free, because you want to get out to South Africa. Have you made any steps to potentially get there soon to do something temporary or even do something out there locally in LA? Because Born Free is something that you want to be involved with out there in South Africa.
Yes, I was talking about this earlier. I love Born Free. I think there's a opportunity there, especially with these. I'm writing a book series. I think there's something there that would be perfect for that. I also would really love to collaborate with Best Friends LA because that's where I got my cat from, and he is the love of my life. I donate them money every year to thank them for giving me my soulmate. So I would also love to just do a collaboration to stress the import, like, adopt, don't shop, because I adopted and I got the best cat in the whole world from it. So I'd love to do more with animal charities and nature conservation in the future. That's a huge priority for me, and my team knows that. We've had a big chat about it. So I think, yeah, next year we should have some good opportunities and discussions about how we can best accomplish that for me.
Yeah, a lot on the way here. You got this tour. Are you going to be doing any individual performances around the tours that you got going on?
Um, nothing is set in stone yet, but I do know that my team is hoping that I can get my first headline tour this year.
Ooh,
And that I'm hoping for that too. That would be really cool. So
yeah.
fingers crossed.
Yeah, I'm sure it'll happen. And you got to make it full circle too, because not you don't want to go out there and make these songs for TikTok, but there is a certain TikTok song that was introduced to you when you were younger by Kesha. You love to work with Kesha.
Kesha's brilliant. I when her song Praying came out, I was blown away. I think and Woman, her song Woman, oh my God, she's so great. I would love to work with her. I think she's awesome.
Yeah. Who's on the list for you as far as artists that you want to work with in the near future? Who is on that list? I know we mentioned Kesha.
I love everything Chapel Roan's doing. She kind of reminds me of Freddie Mercury in a way with her flamboyancy and stage presence and love of costumes. And those are all things that I both want and also enjoy. So I feel like we have a lot in common in that way. So she's always been up there for me. Yeah, she's always been up there for me. And then I've always wanted to do a ballad with Lewis Capaldi. I think Lewis Capaldi is the ballad king, and I love a good sad ballad, and I would love to get to sing a ballad with him.
Oh yeah, that would be amazing. And I'm sure it's gonna happen. Keep working, manifesting it. The talent is there. Greats in the industry already recognize you, and it's gonna be nothing but home runs here for you in 2025.
Oh, well, thank you so much. That means
Yeah,
a lot.
of course. Macy K, is there anything else you want to let your fans know, the audience know that we didn't go over yet and get out there for the interview today?
No, just that you can find me on all social media at Maisy Kay. That's MAISYKAY. And I hope you check me out. I design all my own merch. I creative direct all my own visual assets. I'm very involved and I love nature and whimsy. And I hope that maybe if you like those things too, you'll give me a listen.
Yeah, and video games too. Can't forget about the
And
video
video
games.
games, yes, and video games, of course.
Yeah. What's your top game that you're playing right now?
Ooh, I really wanted to reboot the Outer Worlds. I love Outer Worlds. It's done by Obsidian, which is the same company that did Fallout New Vegas, which is arguably the best Fallout game, but that's controversial. So I've been really, it's not new, but there is a DLC that I never got around to playing, and I love the humor in that game. So I was thinking about that. I also, Skyrim's my favorite game of all time. So you can never go wrong with Skyrim. And I've really weirdly been getting an urge to play Cyberpunk 2077 again.
Okay.
Played it back in 2020 and I don't know what it is, but I just really want to play it again. So I might do that after this interview.
Yeah, go play those video games. That's your passion right there. And I'm looking forward to everything that you have on the way here. Thank you to Amber for getting this set up. And you always have a spot here on the show anytime you have any publicity and press that you need.
Oh, thank you so much. I really appreciate that.
Of course. And let them know where they can follow you on Instagram, X, all the platforms that they can follow you on.
Yeah, so I think I know I have TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Spotify, Blue Sky, X, though I don't use it so much anymore. I basically have everything. It's all at Maisy Kay. It's very simple, really. I'm lucky my name is quite unique. No one ever steals my username.
That's definitely rare nowadays. Everyone's stealing
Yeah.
everything. Maisy Kay, thank you for coming on the show. I had a great time speaking with you. Congratulations on the EP and all the accomplishments, and much more to you in 2025.
Oh, thank you so much. Thanks for having me. I had a great time.
Thank you, Maisy. Enjoy the rest of your night and take care.
You too.
Yes,
Bye.
bye
Bye,
bye.
Max.
Take
Thank you.
care. Of course, anytime.
Bye.